like to move on. I'd like to thank all of our stakeholders, our community involvement, our staff, the CEO, and our board.
Good morning. Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman Cody. Director Emister? Not present. Director Odell? Not present. Director Stone? Director Lockett?
Present.
Director Adams?
Present.
Director Robinson? Director Leggett? Not present. Director Taylor?
Present.
And Chairman Cody?
Present.
Chairman, you have a quorum for today's meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Emister, not present for the vote. Director Odell? Not present for the vote. Director Stone?
Yes.
Director Lockett?
Yes.
Director Adams?
Yes.
Director Robinson? Director Leggett? Not present for the vote. Director Taylor? And Chairman Cody? Chairman, motion passed for the approval of today's agenda.
Sit next time. I'd like to take a moment and give board members and some more this month for our cat family. We have Director Leggett, grandmother. And we also have Director Lockett, all his family of 32 years. I'd like to take this time to take a moment out.
Make the motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Director Stone and Director Robinson. Chairman, would you like for me to do a roll call vote? Director Emister? Not present for the vote. Director Odell?
Yes.
Director Odell?
Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Now we can. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Director Odell, we are taking a roll call vote for the consent action items for the approval of the
I know. I said
consent
yes.
action items. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Director Stone?
Yes.
Director Lockett?
Yes.
Director Adams? Director Robinson? Director Leggett? Not present for the vote. Director Taylor?
Yes.
And Chairman Cody? Chairman, motion passed for the approval of consent items 1 through 7.
Yes, Director Robinson, thank you very much for that question, because there may be some members of the audience that are viewing us that would wonder about that as well. But if there are any changes to agenda items that occur between coming out of committee and being presented to you today, we would always make you aware of those changes prior to a vote.
welcome our CEO, Mr. Massimo.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you all for being here today. I'm going to be brief. I know that you get Snapshot every week, so you get a really good look into what's going on week to week. But there are a couple things I want to mention that we're incredibly excited about right now. One, we got the right-of-way agreement for the Garden City expansion back from Garden City yesterday, and it was also submitted to GDOT yesterday. We expect a quick turnaround on that, and you can expect in the coming weeks to see a schedule of a groundbreaking for the installation of the stops, and then a ribbon cutting for the beginning of service, the new service in Garden City. So we're very excited about that. In addition, next week, we're going to be meeting with the city of Port Wentworth regarding the proposed service expansion there as well. So to say CAT is on the move is, I think, an understatement. I also wanted to point out, especially for the viewing audience that may not have an opportunity always to see some of the detail that we provide to you in between meetings, but we are incredibly proud of CAT's competitive discretionary grant funding results. We know that CAT's always been successful with $7.4 million that was achieved between 2017 and 2021, but since March of 2022, we have grown that accomplishment to over $13 million in discretionary competitive grants and an additional $3.7 million with a GDOT partnership. But that's both for, part of it is for ferry, some of it is for paratransit, but it's through the Georgia Transit Trust Fund, which is an opportunity that is a little bit newer for us. It is one that in the past historically has been, the value of that has been retained in the Atlanta region. And we've been advocating for months for the rest of the state to be able to enjoy in those benefits as well, and are very proud of the leadership of GDOT and Commissioner Russell McMurray, as well as the legislature in helping to make that happen. And I would also give a big shout out to our senators. Certainly all of our delegation worked very hard on the particular commitment that we have to that needed ferry match. But our senators, particularly Mallow and Watson, really worked very hard to make sure that came to pass. So we're excited about that. The Chatham Connects Master Plan, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the planning report, but the stakeholder committee that occurred last week was well attended, and I thought the best part of it was the comprehensiveness of who all was there and participated. You had neighborhood groups, you had Healthy Savannah, the Savannah Chatham school system, including both admin staff and school board leadership. The city of Savannah had several offices there, sustainability and economic development. SCAD was present, Coastal Georgia Indicators Coalition, LIFE, and then hospitality industry business partners. There was just a broad cross-section of all of Chatham County, exactly the kind of thing that you want to see in the participation of a master transit plan, and we were very, very pleased with that. We are continuing to make progress on our grants. We are well underway now, starting the renegotiation for our next renewal of our insurance. We continue to be in a very good position, I believe, there. And we are continuing our communications with our insurance provider for the claim on the CAT-owned dock ramp, the collapse that was the city's, the county's seawall collapse on Hutchison Island, and we were attached to that seawall with a dock and ramp, and it collapsed with it. We have it in storage now, but the putting that back in place and rebuilding that is going to require some necessary resourcing, and we're handling that as we've briefed you before under an insurance claim. Did a lot of training last week. We've got 3 fixed, 3 paratransit, and 1 technician, so total 7 graduates that graduated through the program last week. And then we're very pleased. We always have great partnerships with Chatham County, but we worked last week with the county manager, and there's a property that the county owns on Sally Mood where there's a large parking lot type facility, and we are going to be able to do CDL operators training there in a partnership with the county, and that will enable us to be more aggressive in hiring. We can hire folks, and then we can train them on the CDL side, and we think that's going to be really helpful to us to grow that professional operators side that's going to enable us to continue to grow our service. So really exciting times. Partnerships are everything. And CAT is really enjoying the benefit of those now. So that's the end of my executive director's report, and I will turn it over to Dr. Manny for the service delivery update. Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
The right-of-way agreement with Garden City, is there any financial impact to CAT for that?
No, ma'am. That's where they took responsibility for maintenance and so forth of the right-of-way.
The other thing is being a part of the performance audit monitoring committee, when we talk about grants and obtaining grants and those kind of things, I hope we go back to our regular committee structure. Because what I'd like, I probably have several questions and take a deep dive into, these grants, how they come about, are we using them? Well, anyway, so I'm thinking that for our committee, that I would have an interest in getting in a little bit more information about these kinds of things. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. We're doing great things, and I think as a part of that committee, we have a responsibility to support you. So the more we know, the more we can support you with. And also with the CDL training using the county properties, is there a financial impact for us on that one as well?
There's not.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I appreciate you always asking the financial impact questions. Ms. Cutter and I both do. So, and that's always our first top of mind. I will remind you on the grant space too, since you brought it up. We'll give you a detailed report on all of the grants that are active right now. Many of them enable us to continue our service or to grow our service or to replace needed equipment, those kinds of things. But remember, you may recall, and this is still in place, is that we took a bit of a grant hiatus, if you will. That SMART grant that we just recently got, it's 100% funding. Anything that requires a match, we're taking a bit of a hold on it right now until we can look at we're looking at it very individually. We're not sort of going after anything and everything that's out there just because there's a lot of money at the federal level that is, lots of opportunity. We want to be sure that we're going after things in a strategic way, that we're going after things that we really need, that will build our system, and that we are carefully considering the match implications and then the subsequent operations and maintenance cost implications for many of those things, so that we're not only building CAT, but we're building a better and stronger CAT, and we're doing it with that financial stewardship as a foundation for all of it. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you, Director.
Ms. Director,
Yes, sir.
I want to compliment on those 7 grads who we got on board now. That is very good, and I hope we continue that.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're doing well there, but I think with this initiative that Dr. Manny has put forth with the being able to train on the county property and grow our own CDL operators, that I think is going to be just a remarkable impact to us in a very positive way. So we're real proud of the work that Dr. Manny's doing.
I pass that area every day, so it'll be good for me to look over there and see cats.
See some CAT buses out there?
Yes, it will.
Very good. Thank you.
I just had a quick comment. You were talking about the report from our state representatives. The meeting that you had back near the holidays with our state reps, I think that was critical to let them know what our asks were and back it up with the documentation that you provided with them. And I hope that will be an ongoing thing in the future, because if I were a state representative, knowing ahead what an organization needs and you providing the documentation gives them something to go on. And I believe that may have had a lot to do with the success that you've had with this year's general assembly.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's always about building relationships, but it's also always about making your business case. You've got to show that you're worthy of partnerships, and that if you are given resources, you're going to handle those resources wisely, and you're going to deliver real performance with them. And so we absolutely believe in that. And I will tell you that that conversation with the delegation certainly did not stop that day. We have continued. They've been so active and proactive with us throughout the entire session. There's not a week that goes by that, even on weekends, that I don't get texts from delegation members asking another question or letting us know what's going on directly. And so that is an important thing. I appreciate you mentioning that, Director Stone.
Good morning, everyone. Before I start, I would like to wish a very belated happy birthday to Ms. Faye and Dr. Robinson. And my cake is on the way. Yeah. Happy birthday, ladies. Okay. First slide. So I'm gonna make it brief because we last week we talked about most of this stuff. So on-time performance, comparing last month to January, it was still the same 59%. We're working hard to reach our target, which is the 70%. We hope next report will be much better because when we did a bid for March, we added extra bus on the route 14. So that will ease up the frequency. Yeah, so we added extra bus to speed up the buses being on time and also for the frequency. And we hope to have a very good, accurate report next month. Next slide, please. The ridership, I'm very happy to report that the month of February, we exceeded our target ridership. And that's a good news that transit indeed is coming back after all the COVID that we all went through. So we had 130,944, which is more than our target of 125. And if you compare that to last month, January, we did very well in February. So on the fixed route side, that was a plus. Paratransit, on-time performance was quite a percent low. And my inquiry with the department heads was most of the time, the fleet they're all over useful life, and the time to swap buses breaking down was also part of the contribution to a low on-time performance of 90% as compared to January, which was 91%. So with our new electric vehicles coming up, we hope as time goes on that we're going to be reporting good on-time performance on the paratransit side. The ridership on paratransit was very low compared to last month, and I was very curious. So I talked to the department head. I said, "Why is February low?" And I needed a historical report on the month of February. And as it turns out, we're 2 days short in February. So on average, we have 300 passengers a day. And February was 28 days. So compared to last month, that's why we have that difference of about 200, because the month was only 28 as compared to 30. And that was interesting to find out. Yeah. That was free, so we hope that we still crunching the numbers. We hope that will be more higher. Yeah. The only thing about the February that was interesting is I went back 5 years, and every month February is low, and I'm like, why? It's okay. We have 28 days, and average is 300. Ridership a day, and if you do the math, you can see that we shoot 2 days. So that was the only difference. So paratransit is still good. It's just that the month of February was short 2 days. So I promised you guys last month report that our online reservation, I guess the public had me, or I would say 6 people had me, that I encourage people to use the online reservation, and that will free up the volume of calls to the call center. So the month of February, we had 6 people that listened to me maybe, and so it's better than last month, which was 0. So we have 6 people that did online reservation for the month of February. It's working now, so we hope as time goes on, this numbers are going to be increased. Okay. The marine side is always a good story. If you look at the ridership, we always exceeded almost 10,000 more than our target. The month of February was very good. It was 10,000 more than what our target was, and was also more than last month. So that's good news on the marine. As we get our new boats, we hope that ridership is going to be more. Okay. So maintenance. This is something that I'll tell Dr. Robinson again, that we did talk about this, but it looks like the number is going down, and it's pretty much, so the mean distance between vehicle failures is how long can we run our service before they break down. And so the higher, the better. And if you compare to all this month, last month was 17, the national average is 14. Our target is 12,000. So it's going down, and I did talk to the head of the department, the maintenance. The vehicles are getting old, and they over their useful life, some instances 120,000 miles over. And so we're working very hard on that to replace them eventually. So that was why, and some also were spare parts that they were holding on, they didn't come on time. So few vehicles, that means if they break down, they can go more. Number one, they're old and they're over mileage. So we hope to see this number change as we replace our fleet in the future.
Can I ask you a question along those lines?
Sure.
In replacing these vehicles, will we be replacing gasoline as well as electric or electric?
So we're doing both electric and a hybrid. And eventually, like, for the future, I would think it's going to be more electric because of the environment, and also the charging stations is only the drawback, is the bottleneck. But as we put charging stations, what we call en route charging, where the bus can pull over and charge while on route, then that would be the future.
Is that pretty well nationwide trend?
Yeah. It's like Ms. Faye keeps saying that we're a small system, and I saw that on that idea, but we have more electric buses than mine. So, so that's the good news, yeah. So we as we replace them, it's going to be hybrid and electric buses. The call center, as you can see, that our target is 60 seconds for somebody to wait for a call. And you can tell that last month was 170. So people had to wait almost 3 minutes. And partly is also staffing, and most people are calling for so many reasons. They call for fixed wire, bars didn't show up, and all that kind of stuff. And so as we see the number online reservation increase, so will this number go down in the future, because the call coming in is so, it's all about not only our transit fixed route, I didn't see my bus is not on time, all that kind of stuff. And we would make sure that next report, this number should go down as we fully staff, and also the tracker, the car tracker is working. All this will ease up that number of calls from the call center. Okay, on the call center side, we have a target about 16,348. And as you can see, the month of February was slow. So one thing that I will talk to Ms. Faye and see if the board will permit it is people that are performing, overperforming, or achieving higher performance. If you can bring one of them to the board as introduction for the board to applaud what they're doing, because if you can see Barbara Sanders, 99.50%. This is almost every month report. She's doing an excellent job. So I'll talk to Ms. Faye and see if next board we can present her to the board to say how much we appreciate her job.
Can I ask you a question about the call center and the plan to move it? When that takes place, do you anticipate any interruption of service during that transition, or would you keep something going here while
Well-
they're there, or how are we
Yeah,
gonna handle it?
it'll be much better because most of the industry call centers are almost at the hub. So, but in terms of calls coming in, we're working, part of the volume of the calls are the call tracker. So car tracker, when people have their cell phone, they're tracking the bus and then it says the bus is coming and the bus doesn't show up, then they're gonna call center. Hey, I'm waiting on the bus, the tracker says the bus is gonna be here a minute, but the bus didn't show up. So as we fix all this stuff and the car tracker is reliable, then the volume of calls will reduce.
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking is when we're making the transition from one building to the next.
Yeah,
Dr. Robinson, we're going to maintain service throughout that transition. So we're working on all of the technical pieces of exactly how that will occur, but it is our intention to maintain consistent access to the call center, even while that physical moving of the both the employees and equipment and so forth is ongoing.
And there's some things you can't predict, even when you're trying to move stuff around, there's things you can't predict, but I'm just hoping that we can minimize as much disruption as possible. For
Absolutely,
the customer, but unexpected things happen as well.
absolutely.
thank you, Ms. Faye. Okay, next slide. So this is my division update. Ms. Faye already mentioned about the CDA training. Through Ms. Faye's leadership and a connection with the county, we were able to get a facility to start our program, something that I've said from the beginning since I joined CAT, that's the only way that will bail us out. You can have 10 people coming in with a CDL, but you can train them to get a CDL and stay with us and grow. Manpower is always everybody's problem nationwide, and almost every industry is doing the same thing. Get folks without CDL, come into your institution, train them, have a CDL, and thanks to Andrew and the team, we were able to get a legal document that we're still working on it. So anybody that we have trained to get a CDL will sign a legal document to stay with us for 2 years. If they leave before the 2 years, and they will owe us that amount of that training. And Andrew, thank you so much. I got that, I'm working on it, and I'll present to Ms. Faye and send it back to you. Sure. Yeah, in-house training. So what we're trying to do is that since we have the facility now, we're gonna have the communication and also the media advertise that we're gonna start the program. I'll let Ms. Faye know the date and we'll go public, and then when people are interested, they just come in and we're gonna help them train to get a CDL. And then with that, they have to stay with us for 2 years. That's the plan, yeah. And from all the places that I've ever worked, they're all doing that, and that's the way out now. And that will help us expand and grow. So we'll let you know when we're gonna kickstart that program. On the fixed route assignment bid, like I said on last week, we have every 3 months the operators come together and bid for the assignment. So the one they did went in effect Monday, March 27th, and so far it's very good. We added 1 extra bar to the Route 14 to ease up frequency and also on time performance. And there's no any hiccups, there's no any reports yet, but all we're getting is that people are happy so far. We hope that next month, because of what we did on the bid, we'll be able to give you guys a very good on-time performance, especially on the Route 14.
Dr. Manny, one thing I want to also mention to the board when we're talking about that is we are moving towards, you recall, we made a temporary service modification last year, end of October, that was a part of bringing service reliability back to the system. Every one of these, every time we're doing the bid and we're looking at, you heard Dr. Manny say we added another bus back to the 14. We are looking at what are the ways that we can make sure that we have service that is performing at a high level, that is very productive, and that we keep an eye on that temporary service mod, because at the next bid, it'll be time for us to say, okay, what parts of that temporary service mod from last year are going to become permanent? And I expect that there will be some that do become permanent because of they're just not going to be high performing as fixed routes, but they could be very well used with another kind of product like microtransit or first mile, last mile. And we're working hard to go ahead and have that ready to go into place in some of these areas, so that what we want to be sure is that we're serving the most people and we're serving them with the very best products we've got. But just know that by the time we get to the next bid, we'll be looking at what are some of the things that are going to become permanent, whether that's an upcrease, like we did with the expansion of the DOT over to the neighborhoods to the west and up to Victory, or whether it is something that where we might be saying, well, we're not going to continue fixed route there, but we are going to continue to provide service. It's going to be a little different service model. So all of those kinds of things will be brought together and brought back before you before we have to put that temporary, whatever, make the temporary permanent. Whatever we do, though, we've got a process, a federal process we have to follow, that by the time we get to the next board, we'll have about a quarter then left to go through any public outreach, Title VI equity analysis, all those kinds of things that we'll have to do for anything that becomes permanent, whether that's an increase or a decrease in service. So I just wanted to mention that to you, so you've got that on your mind.
Thank you, Ms. Fay. Power transit vehicles, I guess you've all heard this almost over 2 months now. They are on route to be here, probably the first week in May, when we're gonna have them all equipped with radios, fare boxes, and of course, cut logos on them, and to roll out. I think Ms. Fair will let you all know, and then the media is gonna be here, and we're gonna make a whole big deal out of it. So we're expecting 10 vehicles, and like I said, they'll be all ready on our site and ready to roll out by first week of May. And the delays were partly the radios and also the charging stations, which we have no control. We were relying on Georgia Power to get us a code and then move forward. That's the only holdup now, but everything else is in place. So we will let you know before first week in May. Our weekly job fair is ongoing. As you are aware, we have job fair on site every week, every Friday from 1 to 4. It's helping us out to gradually get some drivers on board. It's not much than I anticipated, but we have a backup plan, and that is for the fixed route, train our own non-CDL to have a CDL, and that will really help. But so far, the job fair is good. People walked in every Friday for all kinds of our job openings, and it's helping us to recruit. Marine Service Ridership. So today we have our IT manager here, Mr. Mark, who is very, very helpful. So what we're trying to do is, like I said last week, the Coast Guard required us to have a data for our marine ridership. Currently, we're doing everything on paper. So we're getting tablets, and Mark is working on that, where we're going to be documenting ridership on the marine on a tablet, and that data will be stored in a web base. So should the tablet get missing or anything happen, we will have a count of how many people were on the boat. So we'll give you an update on that next month. It's still in the process. Mark is working hardly on that. The accident report. We had a meeting with our insurance company this morning before our board meeting, and they were all pleased with what we're doing. So when me and Ms. Field were in Atlanta 2 months ago, we promised them that we're going to be sharing all electronic data. Now, currently, what is happening is that we have a video and all that in place, and then they have to write to us, and then Mike will go download the video before we send it to them. So we're working with the IT through Mark, where we're going to have everything that we get, they will have it the same day. So we'll make sure that next month we have an accurate report on the status of this very helpful project. And with that, we'll end my presentation. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
On our CDL training program,
So when I got on board, the normal training was 9 weeks. I was able to move it 5 weeks. We anticipate that since they have no idea of how a bar CV looks like, so I'm anticipating about 9 weeks for the whole training. That is the written test or the entire training to complete the whole program, be able to drive. Yeah. So it'll be about 9 weeks. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. If no more questions, happy birthday, Dr. Robinson and Ms. Faye. Yes, sir.
Do you have any drivers already scheduled?
So far, we have about 4 that have been calling almost every day to see when we want to start. And I think if we go public, my anticipation is going to be more.
Okay.
Yeah, probably 10 or 20. So it'll be a class size of 10 to 15. That is my vision.
We had to get the facility confirmed in order to,
Yeah.
so that we would know that we could do it. But it's an exciting new way to, grow our service.
But these individuals are already hired or?
No, because the program hasn't started. So they show their interest. We have their names, contact information.
Gotcha.
Because we didn't have a facility, then we have to get all that together before we can start the program.
So we've advertised that we're going to be doing this training, and then
we're-
folk are now calling that express an interest in the training.
Yeah, in the training. Yeah, so we haven't fully gone out. I guess they probably had it in one of our board meetings. So they call HR and say, hey, we're interested in your CDL. We just took names and told them we haven't started the program yet. Because at that time, we didn't have any facility until Ms. Fay secured us 1 week ago.
So they've not actually officially applied, they've not even done an application or anything like that?
No application has been turned in. We just have the name, contact to call them, and we're going to be doing that soon.
So, but they still have to be vetted though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they go through the whole recruitment process. Yeah. All right. Thank you all.
All right, next presentation's on planning and infrastructure. If Ariel or someone could bring the presentation up. Got it. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. I know that you saw it in committee meetings earlier. Obviously, our keen focus right now is on the master transit plan. You've seen what the schedule looks like between now and June. We will also make sure, given that that is a part of the financial strategy for implementation as well, Dr. Robinson, is to make sure that we include in not this month's, but in next month's financial report. We're going to include a section on grants reporting, just to give you a little bit more about what is the grant for, how are we intending to use it, and what does the funding look like? Does it require a match? Where's the match coming from, and so forth? Just a table of sorts on that. Just a minute. I'm sorry, we've lost our. All right, next slide. But we are still on track. Again, I think at the next meeting, you all remember the deep dive we did this month was on the what kinds of things, what kinds of approaches and strategies and projects might be in the master transit plan. Next month will be on the the how, the financial strategies and the implementation strategies. And I think you're going to see some really interesting thoughts in there and some really interesting ways to think about how we can really leverage our dollars effectively and always maintain that fiscally prudent foundation that we know is necessary. We're getting a lot of great feedback from the community. It is a lot consistent with the feedback we got from you all at the last meeting. There is a large amount of interest in microtransit in the community. So that seems to be a place where there's a lot of support. And we're glad, because I think that's a key part of what we're looking at. But you'll see we're still moving forward to be able to present the draft to you in May with a consideration of adoption in June. Next slide. Just the overall agenda that you've seen already earlier in committees. Next slide. Next slide. So you do remember we have 3 coordinated transit studies going on right now, both the COA and the TDP, which are more the short-term route analysis type strategies, and we've got a lot of good work going on there, and that has been a critical part of the service modifications and supporting making sure that we get the boards posted for our professional operators to be able to bid on in terms of their their schedules and such. The master transit plan, which is both a mid and longer term vision, and a lot of emphasis in it on the financial strategies, and then the zero emissions bus plan. All of those things are coming forward in a coordinated way, even though they're each independent products. Next slide. Project schedule, I think again, you've already seen that. Next slide. You've seen the overview already of the state of the system. We have 16 local fixed route, the 2 downtown shuttles. One of the things that we're also considering that are particularly related to the DOT shuttles and the Savannah Bells Ferry is, as a part of the master transit plan, is that everything be branded CAT. We are a full system. We are a one system CAT. And we offer different services, but all those services are CAT. And when you think about the DOT or you think about the Savannah Bells Ferry, it doesn't always get attached to the CAT brand, and we think that that's an important thing. Next slide. You've seen that the sort of conclusion of the analysis of our bus service is that it's infrequent and not available enough days and times. When we think about expanding our services, whether that's an expansion of the days or an expansion of the time that it operates, again, that's where those financial strategies are going to be critically important, as well as the hiring of operators that we just talked about in Dr. Manny's presentation as well. Next slide. The ridership, riders use CAT to travel on the major corridors. That is something I think that we all know. I think we've got some opportunities, particularly around Duran, to think about some different ways to meet all those demands. You saw in a presentation earlier in committees, there was even some discussion around bus rapid transit and so forth. So we'll continue to do that, as well as to look at the major places that people want to get to and from. Also thinking about while we are Chatham County and we are the city of Savannah, we certainly have this regional impact that's happening all around us right now with the growth in both the electric vehicle industry and associated providers, and that getting people to and from those jobs to continue the economic prosperity for our residents is really important. So that is also going to be a key focus in what you're going to see moving forward. Next slide. So fix it first. We want to be sure that we're making our existing bus service, we're bringing it back to levels where it is the best possible service and the best possible service delivery method in doing that. Investing in our Chatham County and Savannah key corridors, looking at new service models and making it safer or more comfortable to access a ride to the bus. I always have to mention here, when I think about fix it first, every trip on CAT doesn't start on the bus or on the ferry or on the shuttle. It starts at the stop, and then that's our front door to our service. And knowing that we've got to make our stops and our shelters be dignified places to wait, safe places to wait, and then the service that comes to it is reliable, is really top of mind for us in that fix it first piece. Next slide. Expand the base. Again, investing in those key corridors, expanding our transit partnerships. I know you hear us talk about partnerships all the time, but look at how much partnerships have done for us already, both in terms of the kinds of things that we're able to do now and the funding that we have to be able to do those things, and to just improve our existing service, our fix it first stuff. We're going to evaluate zero fare transit. It's certainly a conversation, but as we've mentioned to you, our evaluation of that is going to be in very targeted ways, that there may be some particular areas that are consistent with the parts of our system that are already zero fare, whether that's the shuttle service area, the ferry service area, and perhaps there's some other selected areas that would build more equity in our system, and equity from the perspective of our service, not of those we serve, the equity of those we serve, that there may be some places where zero fare can be a really useful tool there, and we'll be looking at that. But again, it's all got to be something that we can successfully support, just like we did with the expansion to the Carver Village in Oak Cloverdale, as well as up to Victory Drive with the shuttles that we serve now. Using transportation demand management, so whether that's van pools, car pools, those kinds of other tools, and microtransit, if you look at that in that sort of space, as well as integrating technologies. And technologies are going to be everything. The SMART grant that we got is a really important part of both the microtransit piece, but also in that technology development. And I'll remind you, we're really proud that in addition to the partnership with Georgia Tech, that SMART grant includes a 1-year fully funded internship for a Savannah State engineering technology student. We're looking forward to working with that department in terms of who that individual is going to be, and in that overall partnership in delivering that project. Next slide. Achieve the vision. Obviously, we've moved from fix it first, which is really important. You got to take care of the meat and potatoes, and then you've also got to think about all the other sort of side dishes, if you will, that you need to really be able to grow into the future. So addressing regional travel needs, especially those related to getting people to jobs, which could be about implementing commuter and express bus, working with organizations like GDOT to do bus on shoulder in key areas, especially along the interstate, and then that land use coordination that is key both with the cities and county. Next slide. So that's really sort of the overview of that master transit plan. Again, we look forward to continuing to bring you details over the next months. And to that being, I think, an exceptional accomplishment for our organization in terms of, it's very similar to what Director Stone mentioned earlier that we did with the legislature. That master transit plan becomes our business plan for showing everyone that we're ready. We have a vision for what we're going to do. We know how to do it. And if you invest in us, you can do so with confidence. So, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Just as kind of a follow-up, have you had the opportunity to meet with the new head of the chamber?
Oh, yes. And we've known each other for years.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because that's something that connecting us with the small businesses.
He's actually, I'm speaking to their CEO's council at the next quarter. No, Bert and I have worked together for several decades and know each other well. And as a matter of fact, he was very helpful to us during the legislative session also. So partnerships are everything.
In the planning department, we hired somebody, is that correct?
We have not hired anyone yet. We are still in the recruitment process, but we've got a number of really strong candidates. It's an interesting time to be recruiting, and I know you know that too, Director Robinson. You know, we will, people are much more reluctant to move. And that's not these are not jobs that you can do remotely for the most part. So we are still recruiting, but as a matter of fact, had a conversation yesterday with our executive recruiter, and I think we're very close on a candidate. We've just had a couple that we've gotten very close on, and then at the end of the day, the spouse said, I don't really want to move right now, or some issue. Largely, we've actually had that happen twice. So we're still working on it, but in the meantime, I'm making sure that the planning department responsibilities and obligations are being managed every day. And I get help obviously from other members of our crew here, and we use support services as needed through those task order contracts when needed. Thank you for all those good questions. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Cutter for our financial update.
Morning.
And our governance meeting, some very good questions arose from Director Stone and Dr. Robinson regarding the that $69,000 shortfall. And and it was explained, a part of that included payments that were grant funded. So I updated this slide to show the pending grant reimbursement for the month of February. $50,499 will be reimbursed from the FTA, and the local share of the $63,124 grant expense will be absorbed by Chatham Area Transit, with a net shortfall of $18,981.80. Did that answer you all's questions, Director Stone and Robinson?
I guess I'm a little bit baffled by a shortfall, regardless of the amount. So, I mean, how does that happen, and how do we compensate for that overall?
Yes.
Right. So, yeah, that's what I want to hear. The money comes.
Do you see the graph on your screen?
Mm-hmm.
You see that gap between the green and blue line?
Right.
Those are savings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's when circumstances like this occur, when the timing of the revenue is not in sync with the expenses, we have that money there in operations to carry us until we get that reimbursement from a grant or another source.
That was the answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Revenue by category. This month, the largest revenue category came from Chatham County in support of the paratransit program at 31.9% of the total revenue coming in for the month of February. We've always known that our employees is the greatest resource that Chatham Area Transit has. And this slide shows that salaries and wages are 44% of the monthly expenditures, and benefits are 24%, well over 50% of the expenses for the month of February. And that's typically the trend throughout the fiscal year. Our cash receipts by funding source, our special district taxes, 276,000, paratransit funding, 493,874, POR fees, per occupied room fees, that's what POR reflects, 56,261, and grant assistance for the month, $313,914. Our reserve fund.
Ms. Cutter,
Yes.
I'm sorry, before we move on, if we can go back to that one just a minute. There was one thing I wanted to mention related to this as well. So you will start to see cash receipts from the Georgia Transit Trust Fund, a new funding source in the future under this. And to that end, I want to mention that this is the first year, remember, I said that earlier in the report, that we'll be getting those funds. And it's the first year that it's available to transit operators like ourselves. To that end, the way GDOT is doing that is through an allocation. It's a grant, but it's just a grant you submit for and get an allocation. This year, because this is the first year, the schedule, we didn't have time to plan in for it. And the action to approve receipt of those funds is, I believe, April 14th. Am I recalling that correctly?
Yes.
So I just wanted to let you know now to expect a special call board meeting prior to our next meeting for us to seek your approval of that, so that submittal can be made and we can gain those funds. But you'll see those as another funding source under cash receipts as we're moving forward in the future. Thank you.
And I neglected to call the board's attention to the operating cash balance as of the end of February. It is $8.8 million. So we are financially sound to cover expenditures for the remainder of the fiscal year. The growth in our reserve account, as you see, the interest that we're earning continues to climb. And we will continue to set aside dollars, and you'll see that reflected within the FY24 budget. There are a lot of capital needs that require match funding, and with limited SPLOST 7 and remainder of SPLOST 6 availability, we're going to have to set aside money to replace some of our fully depreciated fleet and to support our IT enhancements. Yes.
Are our reserves in some type of a money market or money management?
This slide shows the interest. This is,
Well, I understand the interest, but is this in CDs? Is this in investments? Is this just interest on cash?
it's in the Georgia Fund account. And they invest those dollars for us in a conservative portfolio.
Who manages that?
The Georgia Fund.
I know, but who is that? I'm not familiar with that.
It's a quasi-governmental agency that manages government and quasi-governmental funding.
So what we're saying is that we trust them, that they're putting on, we don't know exactly whether stock, how much is in stocks or how much is wherever.
I can inquire of that, but it's multifaceted.
Right.
But it's conservative investment, I can say that.
Well, I would like to know, how this investment tool works, because, we've been in sort of a down market, and, these investments are doing quite well, which is great. But,
And I think you have to keep in mind, we've got, one, a lot of money in it. And two, this is over nearly a whole year. So, but no, it's performing well, especially given the market, but also given, just keep in mind, there's a lot of money sitting in it. And
I understand that. So my question is, are you in constant communication with them as far as, do you have to make decisions, or do they just manage this account on their own?
Well, no, I don't make monthly decisions. Any decisions that I would have to make will be brought back before the board.
No, I meant, do we have control over this account to say, for instance, they're investing in something we didn't want to invest in?
Director Stone,
Or-
we need to
I'm
look at
just-
that, because I think we need to look at that and bring that back to you, because I suspect the way it works, and I don't know, I haven't looked at it specifically, but I suspect the way it works is very similar to what you see on things that you have, like through your through our retirement accounts or something like that, where it'll tell you that if you're in this fund, you're agreeing that the distribution is this much stock or this much this. And I'm suspecting it's like that, but we should bring you the
Well,
detail.
I would like to know how diversified it is, whether it's in bonds, whether it's in stocks, whether it's in CDs, just to just to know what this money, I mean, obviously, I have zero complaints. It's doing quite well for us, and that's fabulous. But, going forward, I think we as a board should know where this reserve is invested. And I don't mean where as in physically, I mean how it's divided up. Because CDs are yielding high, government, treasury, things are I mean, it would just be good to know.
And just wanted to add, just as the market is here with our personal finances, the rates of CDs are at 5%
Right.
now or more.
I know that.
Money market accounts are more. But this is a fund that's really built to protect public funds. So we'll
Okay.
get the makeup of that portfolio and bring it back before.
Yeah, I just, in case it's ever asked of us, we're supposed to be good stewards of this money. And at this point in time, I mean, I think it's great. Every month we hear it's going up, it's going up, it's going up. And I'm going, wait a minute, we're kind of in a down market with the stock market. So how is this happening? Is it secure? Are we taking risks that we shouldn't take? Those kind of things. So
We'll get you that detail as well as who the trustee is, who the management folk
Well,
are, so
I
just so
mean,
you can see
I know on
that.
other boards, they vote on who manages the reserve and how it's managed, so to speak, how it's diversified. So I think it's prudent for us as a board to know how these reserves are being managed. Okay, thank you.
This is an overview of the operating reserve fund. As you see, we've exceeded our goal. As of 12/28, the balance in the reserve is $7.9 million.
Good stuff.
Human resources stats for the month. We onboarded 6 new employees, and we had 2 employees to exit the organization as outlined in the table.
Is this different from last month, or that, it was looking like it was the same? But
This is for
The-
February.
this is February?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask you a question about, I guess, I know there's a retention, hiring and retention slide somewhere. What is to have, to be at maximum capacity on fixed and paratransit? How close are we, and how many more employees are we looking for to be at capacity? Do you know?
Paratransit is very close. They have 42 positions, and I think they may have maybe 7 vacancies. Dr. Manny, is that correct? Fixed route is a different story. Dr. Manny reports that he needs 98 operators, bus operators, and the number of vacancies you have now, Dr.
Currently,
Manny?
we have 56.
56, so
56 vacancies?
No.
operators,
What we have at hand. The market is short on.
42.
Yeah.
And we have a few in training.
Yeah.
Right now.
Now, with paratransit, I noticed that on our website, it says we pay $20 for fixed and $15 for paratransit. Do you think that hourly rate for paratransit may have something to do with it, or?
I don't think so. Totally different jobs.
Right, I understand it, but
Yeah.
how does people see it when you're hiring it?
I will be probably answer that. It's easy to hire more transit drivers than it is to see. So that's why the rate of hiring, we almost about 7 short. I would say 1 about 10 to be fully staffed. So on our weekly job fair, we get more after hand for our transit, but they don't need to see.
But the hourly rate for the people who are applying is not a big deal.
No,
and remember, Dr. Robinson, paratransit pay went from $12 to $15 within 2 years.
Right. And
So, and we are, and that's something that we are paying close attention to, particularly in FY '24. There's some concerns about that wage in comparison to the fixed route side. We're looking at how we can incorporate different levels based upon longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're having a problem with people coming in, new employees, and they're making the same thing as someone that's been here 3, 4, 5, and that's not quite right. So we're really going to have to take a good look at that and work within the boundaries of our CBA to see what we can do to make that more equitable.
Yeah, and the other thing on the hiring and retention part, is there any conversation with our current paratransit drivers to see if they want to be a part of the training program to earn the CDL so they can have higher wages? Are we having those kind of conversations? Do we, you see a talent, you can recognize your talent and try to encourage your talent to, if you want to make more money, this is what you need to be doing.
That's, and I've witnessed Dr. Manny encourage employees to do that, not only on the operations side, but also on the administrative side. We are really trying to encourage the internal staff to seek these opportunities, but also to prepare yourself to fulfill the seat. Okay, you all have on consent agenda, these items were listed and we're moving forward. The last highlight, and I've been saying this for several months now, the fixed route vehicle replacement issue. We have a lot of vehicles that are fully depreciated and right now limited capital to support the match because of our obligations to the ferry procurements related to SPLOST 7. So that's kind of a challenge, and we're going to be very soon looking at how many we can replace. And within this 5-year capital plan, have a plan for replacement. That'll be a part of the FY '24 budget as well.
That's also a reason why future funding mechanisms that have potential for us, like T-Splost, are going to be so critically important, because we have the dollars there that we could leverage if we had the match. And right now our match is fully committed. So, and that's another reason why I was mentioning that, we put a hiatus on things that don't come with full funding right now, which are very limited, until we can rebuild those capabilities. And I just want to mention again how important a T-Splost is going to be to CAT in terms of doing that.
Well, I would like to say to our elected officials, when it comes to T-Splost again, let's do a better job of advertising it and making the community aware of how. Well, that's true, but. Right, but just in general, because I think a lot, what happens last time was just the citizenry just wasn't aware of how important that is. And
another thing I think is important, Director Robinson, that also for a variety of reasons didn't seem, at least based on my review, didn't occur last time, is the value that CAT has in a T-Splost, not only for Chatham-wide, but also for the cities. The notion of really promoting that the T-Splost has greater value with a substantial impact from CAT in it. And we've got to explain that and be able to talk about that, because as Director Stone said, we can't market and promote, but we can provide facts. And the notion of being able to explain the value of something, you know, if you vote for this and you get this much, these investments in CAT, then here's the performance you would get for that. Not a marketing, not any of those kinds of things. It's merely an explanation of facts. We've got to take a really strong position on that this time. As you can well imagine, we certainly intend to. So take a really, and that was one of the reasons why we brought you a T-SPLOST list so early on, was for us to have something to know that you were supportive of in our conversations with all the partners in Chatham County as to how that might move forward. But it's absolutely, that tool is critical for us because that local match is everything. County, city, business community, everybody.
Yes. Ms. Cutter, do we have a timeline on when these vehicles need to be replaced? I heard you mention 5 years, but do we need them before 5 years?
We're gonna have to do some each year. We simply, unless we obtain additional resources of revenue, in the short term, we have the choice. We either identify resources of revenue within the short term, or we begin to eat at our reserve, the high don't revenue. I think we're gonna have to look at operating efficiencies, and restrict those efficiency savings towards things like local match funding to replace vehicles, both air and transit, and fixed route. And we've identified already some ways to do that by looking at how many do we really need, different methods of transportation that are not as costly, all of these things. And as the CEO said, a part of the transit master plan will identify some alternative that we possibly can utilize to accomplish and meet this challenge.
Thank you, ma'am.
We're behind on vehicle replacement, though,
Yes.
succinctly stated. We are behind on vehicle replacement. We were behind on ferry replacement. We're behind on all those things. So the notion of now we've got to play catch up, we've got to play catch up in a somewhat constrained and need to be fiscally prudent environment. And so we're going to have to be smart about that. But I think that's why you're going to think that the financial strategies, as Ms. Cutter just mentioned, that you're going to see come forward as a part of the master transit plan are going to be critical to that and are going to give us all some food for thought as to how to be more creative and more innovative in the financial space.
Action items the board have approved today as brought forward from procurement. Next slide. The challenges of FY24 financial planning, retention and recruitment, staff training and development, hardware, software needs, pension plan enhancements, and capital funding. Those are the challenges that we face, and solutions and recommendations will be brought forward within the FY24 budget for board consideration and approval. Are there any other questions? If not, we will be coming back next month with the information on the Georgia Fund to the board. It will hit committee first, of course, to ensure that the directors that are part of that committee are satisfied, and or if they desire additional information prior to governance.
More detail on the grants too, we committed to.
Yes. Thank you.
Director Cody, Chairman Cody, will we be going back to our regular committee structure next month where we meet?
Yes.
Okay, and the times will stay pretty much the same?
So it'll be about second and fourth?
Yes. One,
Fourth Tuesday now?
that's correct. And the times are 1 PM, 2:30, and 4 PM.
Bev, why don't you resend that out to everybody today, just as a refresher?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you, staff, for that information, as always, on top of it. We gonna, at this time, we want to go into executive session. I want a first and a second to discuss, our deliberation of personnel matters.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Then we're gonna take 5 minutes now.
Should we
You're looking for a vote?
take the vote first?
Yeah, the birthday break.
And Chairman, can I go ahead and
Take
do the
vote
roll call?
first.
Yes.
The roll call,
Let's do a roll
one
call.
moment. Okay. Director Emister, not present for the vote. Director Odell? Director Odell? Not present for the vote. Director Stone?
Yes.
Thank you. Director Lockett?
Yes.
Thank you. Director Adams?
Yes.
Thank you. Director Robinson?
Yes.
Thank you. Director Leggett? Not present for the vote. Director Taylor?
Yes.
Thank you. And Chairman Cody?
Yes.
Chairman, motion passed to enter into executive session with a 5-minute break.
Beverly,
Oh, hello, Director Odell.
I'm here. Y'all can't, it's something going on with my sound.
And I think it's like a 5 to 8 second delay coming across on virtual, so I do apologize. Can I record your vote as a yes?
It was a yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I think what's happening is happen again. Oh, I know, it's all new. It's new for me too.
Okay, Timber. Where's the restaurant?
Right now, we waiting on a repairman.
Okay, but city, you know, Dark City.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's us.
Yeah.
We bought a brand new this ice maker. And we gotta have all of that functioning before the health department gonna sign off. So now we're waiting on the technician. We just bought it, it's brand new. Paid over $3,000 ice maker. It's not working.
You gotta stop making money.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't get the
It's
money.
going one way now. I'd like to see some more come back.
Ariel, you may have to join the main session. You may, oh, okay.
Okay, that's good. A-E-R.
A-R-I-E-L.
Okay. Thank you. I'm messing with it.
Okay.
I got you. I don't know what that is.
Is that my packet? That's yours. Yeah, that's yours.
Thank you.
I think we got a good tool.
What, sir?
I think we got a good tool that we can, well, that staff can, Andrew. All right. All right, I'd like to thank everybody from, we now coming back from executive session. I want everybody to know there was no action or votes taken. Next, do we have any old or new business? With no old or new business at this time, 12:56, I would like to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Yes. So anytime you want to pick up with the training reimbursement thing, my associate Jordan is happy to keep working with you, and I can get at this point, she probably knows more than I do. But whenever you're ready for that, yeah. Okay.
She said that.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I'm trying to give her good media assignments to get her trained up to be sort of like when I get a 5 kappa elbow.
Where did you pull out?
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You make mine.
I just saw
Let me pick
an
it.
email and it was like really quick response. Okay.
Ferguson died. It's great. Be a minute. I'm beginning.
Perfect.